Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Karsh Goblin. This is the Goblin Cave, and today we're just doing a year in review. This is our first year of streaming, and I just thought I'd go through everything that happened in 2009 or 2018, and just put a little bit in context, see where we've been, and possibly even see where we're going, and give you a little bit of behind the scenes of what's been going on. So, we channel launched in March of 1st, 2018, yet this isn't the start of the actual channel. The channel actually started 4 months before then, when the preparations started happening. And so that was about late November 2017. Our initial focus, of course, was just one-shot role-playing games. The idea was for a live casting. We were to use those one-shots to bring in new cast members every single week, focusing on the Weeby Goblins game because it's a nice, fun, light-hearted, pink mohawk style game. And so that's where our focus was. And we were using that for, as I said, a live casting. This idea was thrown out the window pretty quickly. This is because the Roll20 had a brand new release of War of the Crown. Pathfinder started working with Roll20 and released a joint product with them, whereas previously all their big major stuff was through D&D. Now, I've been playing D&D for about 20 years of various different forms. I'm not a huge fan of D&D 5th edition. I had played Pathfinder many years ago and liked it. I thought it was okay. It has developed a long time since then, so I thought, oh, that's great. I'll jump into this and I'll start a War for the Crown long-running game, and started actually looking for players. At the same time, there was another release for D&D side of things, which was Princes of the Apocalypse. Now, we were advertising the War of the Crown for over a month. Actually, it was over a month, and we had only two decent candidates for a live streaming show, and we were looking for 5. And so we kind of had to say no. We had to cancel the project. We still have the stuff there. It can still be run possibly in the future, but with only 2 cast members, it's just not going to happen. Instead, we refocused ourselves for the Rusty Daggers, which was Prince of the Apocalypse. We renamed it to Rusty Daggers only recently, late in the year. And the cast members we got that was just amazing. We had 5 cast members of various ages, various experience, various skill level, and they just jumped in. They bonded by putting pressure on me as the GM, as the showrunner, to not do a tech session, but actually just let's create characters because they were so enthusiastic. And so our tech session took all of 10 minutes, which was amazing. No one had issues, everything was running well, and we just jumped in for character creation. It was amazing. I did record it. The recording was so dodgy and so bad because this was like the first real recordings that we were doing, and we had issues throughout it, and unfortunately it's too degraded to actually keep, so unfortunately we couldn't really upload it, which was the intention. But what came out of that was a group which bonded 5 cast members, 5 players. They just came up with all these ideas, they were working together, and then we actually had custom artwork made. I found a local Twitch streamer artist, Jurimon, at Twitch TV Jurimon, or Jurimon Draws on Twitter, and she did an amazing job. She focuses on character creation art, also on character art for D&D and role-playing games. So what she came out with was just brilliant. Everyone was super impressed. Even though they were not coloured yet, they were just the initial black and white or single tone monochrome colour drawings. And yeah, so that was how we started that first role-playing session that wasn't a Weeby Goblins, which, I mean, the Weeby Goblins was great fun. It was a good laugh to hear everybody at the start, especially the person that would play the alchemist. Every single week they would apologise to everybody else, saying, I'm sorry, I'm going to end up killing you, when they go through their character and see that all their stuff was area effect stuff, like potions of acid and fireballs and all this Molotov it's all area explosion stuff. So they would all say, I'm sorry, and it was great to see them all say that independently of each other, and also all of the voices were very independently created, but they all sounded very similar when people got into that goblin voice. They were very similar, even though they didn't see everyone else doing the same things. But back to the Rusty Daggers, they were great. I was super impressed with them, and some of the things that was supposed to be there in session 0 were thrown out the window, especially Mr. Kadan. Will changed his character from being this really super fun, happy party animal style to, oh my god, people are going to die if they is not a sensible person. So he changed the character to what was later referred to as Kadaddy, because the party needed a dad, someone with morality, someone that could just like level everyone down from the stupid things. So that was a great start to have them there. It was unfortunate we couldn't do War for the Crown, but as I said, only 2 suitable candidates. It just wasn't going to happen. Now, after that, they like the first few weeks, first month, even first couple of months even, sorry, our internet connection here was just plagued with issues. We had calls almost on a daily basis to our ISPs, but in Australia it's not the ISP's issue, it's the government's issue of the National Broadband Network. And there was serious problems. There still is serious problems on the lines here, and we're still working on them, and there's still issues. But the Rusty Daggers cast, they went through all that, and they kept on coming back. They kept on going, look, let's do this, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. And they gave me so much energy wanting to do that, wanting to keep going, wanting to keep playing. There was one time I had an issue where I actually was disconnected for an hour and was struggling to get back. And when I went back into the program which we use, which is called Zoom, they were all still waiting for me. And I was just sitting to do something else. I would given up on everything, and they were still waiting for me and still going, are we playing? Let's get back in. I was like, okay. That's the amount of enthusiasm which really just shocked me, and I loved from these cast members. Early April, on actually the 1st of April specifically, we did an autism awareness stream. Now, as a streamer, ever since I knew I was going to be streaming, I was thinking, yes, I want to do this. Now, autism is something that affects me personally. About a week before we launched the channel, my partner and I sat down and we did the autism or AQ quotient, or autism quotient or AQ test, and it was pretty obvious that, look, I've got autism, or I'm somewhere on the autism spectrum. Now, that was kind of a massive shock to me, seeing I've done a lot of research in the area, because I've got an autistic goblin he was 7 at the time, but he's now 8. So he was 6 at the time, and now 7. And we had his diagnosis since about the age of 4. I've been heavily involved in his therapy, heavily involved in everything, and it's just been a massive strain, but it's just part of my life, part of who he is. And this is a child who was reading without being taught from a very young age. He does some absolutely amazing things, but as a 7-year-old, he's still maybe a 3-4-year-old developmentally, and he's mostly non-verbal. So doing an autism awareness stream, I really, really, really wanted to do this, and the perfect way of doing it is playing the game Max an Autistic Journey. So Max an Autistic Journey is the life of Max, an autistic child, I think at 10 years old in the game, and it's his day getting up, going to school, coming home, and things like that. And the behavioural issues and stress management, things like that, is part of the core mechanics in the game. And it's quite fun. It's very simplistic, but it's very educational, and that's why I wanted to do it. I reached out to GPAC Gaming about a week beforehand. I left it way too late, and just say, hey, can I get some CD keys? And what I found out later is that went into the junk pile, as in junk emails. So about a month later, they went, oh god, sorry about this, here's a bunch of keys. But hey, that happens. And they also said, here's my personal email address, if you want to do it again, contact me, blah 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 blah. They were super supported, because Max, the head of the game's development, is actually Max's dad. Max was also involved in the game's development too. And when we did the same stream about 3 months later, the game's developer, owner, whatever, was actually in chat, and was just amazing to see that support for a channel which is so small like my own. So early April, after that early April, we hit our Twitch affiliate. So it took us just over a month to get Twitch affiliate status. And a lot of this was kind of gaming the system, where we had new cast members in every week. They were playing the same game every week, so they could watch other people go through the same scenarios and see how they went. And they could also, the game was set up specifically to allow them to watch from their own, from Twitch. So they could be in Twitch and still play in the game as well. So it's kind of a little bit of a, yeah. But they had fun, it was good, and we hit that and it's like, wow, oh my god, we need emotes and things like that. So what was the first remote we got? Friendly Fire. Because it was just such a big part of the channel at the time, where, as I said, anyone that would play The Alchemist would, in that game, in the Wee Big Goblins, would always say, I'm sorry, I'm going to end up killing you, and Friendly Fire in role-playing games is the thing. And you don't turn off Friendly Fire, it's a fun part of the game. So that's pretty much how that came about and why that came about. Another one came out which was possibly going to be Guidance, but that came up a bit later and not for the best of circumstances. So in April as well, about early mid-April, we also went to a local Twitch meet. So the Sydney Twitch community, there's a streaming community around it, and like a community around the streamers in Sydney, which is where I live. And we had a meet-up, and it was great. Meeting other small and some larger streamers was just really, really good to see. Some of them from interstate as well, because they were up in Sydney for other things. It was great to be able to chat, to go through other things, and tell people what I do, because it's not the normal thing, because all my focus was at that time was live role-playing. But it was great. It was amazing to meet other people, and great networking. Got a lot of cards. A lot of people just like, oh, what's your Twitter, or what's your Twitch, and just bumping straight follow. And that was just great to see. I was also able to meet with some of the people from the Aussie Stream team, and got an invitation into their Discord, which was just so amazing. It's a larger version of the Sydney Twitch community, which is an Australian-wide Twitch community. So many small streamers, so many people enthusiastic, so much information to share, and there's other things going on there as well. So I was really, really impressed with it and absolutely loved it. The night was absolute blast, and yeah, it just really, really gave me so much enthusiasm to move forward when I was like, okay, I'm now an affiliate, now what? But that was just that extra energy, which was great. So we started what was we started okay. So we started what was going to be our first. Sorry, I'm reading through notes here. I don't usually do this. I could have done it totally off the cuff, but I thought I'd read through notes. So we started what was going to be our first in our Chronicle series. So our Chronicle series was going to be 4 to 6 week long mini campaigns. So we're not going to be one shots, but not going to be a full 0 to 15th level game. We're going to do smaller games called these Chronicles. So the Chronicles was going to be a few different things, and we're going to swap through them. So we're going to be doing Call of Cthulhu, we're going to be doing Shadowrun, we're going to be doing Battletech or MechWarrior, and a few other bits and pieces, and just swap through them and keep it as persistent universes. So we started one of those which was focused on just teaching new players. And this was my main fail of the year, where I failed in my casting. And it's all on me. The venture just absolutely just was wrong because of who was in the venture and who I put in the venture. So we had people that did have some experience, people that were not on the same page as others, as in what they wanted out of it, and others which were just totally fresh and just want, oh, how do I roleplay? How do we do this? How do we learn that? And they were super keen, but the experience was being ruined by others, and it was. I should have saw it further, like right at the front, and I should have addressed it earlier, but it just failed, and it was a total disaster in my eyes, and probably the biggest failing I had throughout the year. So by late April, early March, this momentum, we had great momentum and everything was going well. Yes, we had a series which I wasn't pleased with, but we still had good momentum. The channel was growing and I was really impressed with what was happening. But at that stage, my partner gave me a phone call early in the morning, and she said, "Look, I'm in hospital. I've got stomach pains, I'm in hospital, can you come over?" I was going to be coming over later that night, but it was really bad, and it was, we initially found out, okay, it's her appendix, which should have came out a couple of years ago, but didn't, but there were circumstances behind that, now it's safer. So they took her appendix out. I stayed pretty much in the hospital all day and night, and everything was okay. And they said, "Oh, that looks weird." So we didn't think too much about it. They sent it away for testing, blah blah blah. Came back later that her appendix wasn't appendix; it was cancer, and that really just set everything on hold. I stepped back from pretty much everything. I had to stop all the shows running, just stopped it all dead. Kept the Rusty Daggers, Prince of the Apocalypse show running because the cast members were so great, they were amazing. I didn't want to lose them, and I knew I could tick over the show on a weekly basis. If it's the only thing I can do, it's the only thing I'm doing, I knew I could keep on ticking it over until I could come back fully to it. And this is also for my respite. So the whole channel, this is my respite because I have a disabled child. So this is my fun, relaxation, enjoyment, and outlet. So I needed at least one show to keep that outlet going as well. While my partner was in a lot of pain and going through a lot of stuff, I could try to support her, and this was my outlet for everything else. So we kept that going, and I had to just take a step back and just cut a lot of projects at the time because I was trying to just do a lot of projects. So this put a serious strain on my relationship with my partner throughout the year, and in the background I was still working on projects. I was working on projects like a PvP, which a Dungeons & Dragons PvP, so D&D PvP was the idea, it was the working title, and I've got tokens, I've got a map, I've got it all set and laid out. I just need enough viewers, I need a channel big enough to support the show itself. So the idea is to actually have people going against each other live and chat to be able to alter the game itself, for good or bad on either side. And that was the idea, that was supposed to be. There was also a lot of the work on the Chronicles going on in the background with Shadowrun bits and pieces, but I couldn't focus enough on the stuff in the background because I was trying to help out my partner, and there was a lot of strain going on from that as well. So around the same time, we also got reviewed by a channel, another Twitch channel called Experience This. So it's actually Experience This 2, and they are just amazing blokes from a local area who do reviews every week on, I think it was 2 Twitch channels and a podcast every week. And they sit down with their beers and they talk about the channels. And it's a real blokey bloke show and a real bloke community, but they are so funny, they're really nice guys. So when I got reviewed, this was when I was stepping back. The channel was in total disarray, but they still saw what I was doing, they saw my previous work, and they went, "This guy's really good," and they gave me 2 full beards, which is their highest scoring, which at least that was the highest scoring at the time. They've got, like, I think that's golden beard now because, well, they saw, another streamer, which I know she's amazing anyway. But that's just how things were. So it was great to get that positive feedback at a time when the channel was just bleh. It really was at the time. But to have that encouragement is like, yes, we are doing good, we are doing well. When we come back, we can bring this back. So we also attempted to launch a new game at this stage because we were able to do things in the background. Early in the year, before we launched the channel, I went to a games convention in Canberra and picked up a role-playing game. and I just loved it. I fell in love with the system. It's beautiful, it's simple, it can be very, very basic to a bit more complex. So great for very, very new players, and it's written for very new players, which I just love. And it's a zombie apocalypse game, which I've never had before, never experienced before, never ran before. On top of that, it's not your normal zombie apocalypse. It's not, oh my god, zombies everywhere. It's all the factions after the zombie apocalypse were trying to fight each other for power and control, and some of them are still trying to just burn the rest of the world down. So it's really, really interesting, and it's well written, and the system is really nice. I contacted the creators of the system and said, look, this is who I am. I want to do a small role-playing show with your system. And I already bought all their stuff. I already had all their stuff. And he said, great, here's everything, and sent me everything on PDF, which I already had anyway, and also physical copies. And just keep me informed, and I'll promote you as well. As in, they were going to promote the show and everything from their own media accounts. Like, oh, wow. Unfortunately, after over a month of searching for players, and of course working myself on this project, we had nothing. We had one person apply for the game, and we had another person not apply but asking about the game itself. And this really, after the enthusiasm of meeting other Twitch streamers, the review from Experience this was a kick in the balls. This was like, oh crap, this was a low point. This was a real low point. So I still want to do this game. I want to work with the game system. I want to work with the developer of the game itself, and I want to show this game off to other people because I think it's worth it. I think it's a really, really good product. So I want to bring it back somehow in 2019, even if it's one-shots or bits and pieces. So during this step back, we also had the new look to the show. So for the 10th episode, and the 10th episode didn't take 10 weeks, well, 2.5 months. It took months and months and months in the Rusty Daggers because we had so many issues with connections, so many issues with scheduling and bits and pieces. It just seemed that everything was on the Thursday, which was show day. Couldn't do much about that. So, but I think it was the 10th episode, I'm pretty sure it was, we changed the look of the show. We brought in whole new backing and overlays and whatnot. We actually got a wooden paneling for streamers. I found a streaming pack for wooden paneling. I loved it. I thought it matched the aesthetic of role-playing and the aesthetic of fantasy and the goblins and whatnot. So I started working with that. It took me probably over 50 plus hours, maybe even 60 hours for the initial overlay set to be made. And I made mistakes, but I did that, and then it's like, great, fantastic. And so I rebuilt everything in there. Shortly afterwards, I then had to rebuild it a few other times, which was faster, and I had so many elements and so many layers in my initial overlay set that it was crashing my computer. I had over 60 layers going on, like 60 elements. Like an overlay set by, if you're not aware, overlay set by a background. Then you have maybe a frame here and maybe some lettering here, and each one of those is an element. Like a title there and blah blah blah. And each one's an element. I had over 60. Each one takes processing, each one takes memory, each one takes work for the computer. So I had to rebuild that a couple of times to reduce that, and in the rebuildings I've streamlined it to maybe having 6 elements on some screens, 2 on the others. This in itself is only 2 elements. I've got the front screen and I've got the back screen, and I'm inside in between the two. So I've got the paper behind and I've got the frame around me, and I'm in between the two. That's what I mean by an element. But the main screens just had so many. Even all the writing up here or down the below are separate on the same element as that frame. So that's not a separate thing. The only difference is right down here with the chest, that's a separate element. So maybe 3 things. Anyway, so as I was saying, I had to rebuild that a few times, and then I went from XSplit, which I was really liking at the time, but it started really crashing on me because of the overlays I was using, I think, maybe, or they were having some issues internally with their code. So I swapped from that to OBS, which I thought wasn't going to be good, and my god, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I've been with OBS ever since. So Open Broadcasting Software, I think it is, yeah. So that's the new look, that's what we started doing, and around this time, or a little bit later than that, we started playing with sound. Now, Syrinscape RPG Audio, I contacted them a while back and went, yep, can I use this for my broadcasting? And they didn't get back to me. And they didn't get back to me, and they didn't get back to me. It's like, well, I went to the site and it's like, oh, in their FAQ was, you can use this for your broadcasting if you just say blah, 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 blah. It's like, I've been waiting for this. So I jumped on board, started playing with it, started setting things up, and absolutely love it. I'm still learning. Audio mixing is a hard thing to do, especially while on the fly, while running a game, while setting up maps, while doing bits and pieces, especially with Roll20. And but I'm really loving the effects that it has. So with Syrinscape, we can have people really, really spooked out with a spooky area or a haunting or stuff like that, and just have things rumbling in the background and they just don't know what's going on. And we've had even something recently where we had a similar thing where a ghosted haunted tavern, and we had that going on for long periods and things were just a bit on edge, and then someone subbed or someone followed and there was a follow announcement and people jumped on the screen. It was like, wow, that's a great effect. And that's what we want. That's what we want to use, because it's not just giving the audience a good effect, but it's also giving the cast members that effect and putting them straight into that mood of where they are. Because I can describe a place, but if the players can also hear that place, if they can see that place as well with a map, then that's 3 out of your senses all covered. That's really, really nicely done. So I've been really, really loving it. I've loved the support that I've had from Syrinscape. We've had Ben from Syrinscape actually sit in and watch and sit in chat and ask and answer questions. They even offered to do custom audio for me for my next show, which I was just blown away from. I was being sarcastic because I was like, wow. And they also retweet my announcements of, hey, we're doing this show. So the support I've had, just amazing. They're a local company from Sydney as well. So like, I would love to support them as much as I can. I'd love to promote them as much as I can, and I try to promote them as much. So the audio you can hear now is also from Syrinscape, by the way. So there we go. That's also from Syrinscape. That's their friendly drinking tavern, friendly tavern drinking time. So on top of that, we've also started a new section when things started sorting itself out with my partner and just a little bit less stress. We brought in a new thing, which is again a small repeatable series. And I like the idea of a repeatable series because the amount of work it takes in the background to run a campaign from scratch is bonkers. The We Be Goblins game is over 150 hours of game prep beforehand for a 4-hour show. So I want to be able to repeat that again and again and again. So with the repeatable challenges, we jumped on the Sunless Citadel, which is what we ran for my first dungeon for the new players, which is a simple, repeatable, very easy dungeon, and we gave it a time frame, so the players then have only 4 sessions of 4 hours, which brings it into a little bit of a stress position, and then we added to that stress by saying, look, you've only got a single class. And so we ran for the Bards campaign, and the Bards, they were quite funny. They were really good. They failed a lot. We had 2 total party kills, I think, in the first session. We ended up with 14 deaths in 3 sessions, and unfortunately just scheduling issues just really got in the way, and things just got in the way, and we never got to that final session. And there was also an issue during that game where it just wasn't good, and I'll mention that later because it's in a later section to mention. But it was been fun. We did that for the bards, we did that for druids, and the bards game led to the Blades of Waterdeep and the druids as well. They were just so amazing. I couldn't believe the role playing that went into it, the fun that the players had, the how they tackled the challenges in an unconventional manner and kicked everybody's up butts. Even the barbarians, where the barbarians struggled, the druids just walked straight through. And it was really, really amazing to see that a character class is actually really over the top powerful when you wouldn't usually see them. But they work together, and the challenge is you have to work together even in the session 0, going, okay, what's the plan? How are we going to tackle these challenges? So people like the barbarians, they went, okay, our main challenge is going to be healing and reviving people, so one of the characters picked up the good berry spell, and so they can do a good boy in the mouth, revive the character, done. And so there's lots of things like that. You really got to work the rules around, and it's great fun. And with the Syrinscape audio, we were able to play some fun stuff. So every fumble, we had things like the and every the trombone, and for the critical successes. I know that's really loud. I just turned up for that. So it was a nice, laughable mood, and I really enjoyed running them. So as I said, these games then led into a really nice live casting where we found some great cast members, and they wanted to go, what's next? What can we jump into? What else are you running? And around that time, the Waterdeep Dragon Heist had come out, and I've been looking at it for a while for another project called Blades of Waterdeep. So Blades of Waterdeep was going to be, again, a repeatable game, but this was very, very different from what you'd normally play. And it's still in the process of working. I've still got bits and pieces. The idea is that I'm using the Waterdeep Dragon Heist maps, and I'm running heists every week. So character creation is very, very different, very restrictive, and you've got to build the party and the gang instead of an individual character. So every week you go up against a different, you get to choose from an option of lists of what you're going to do. Are you going to do an arson? Are you going to do a kidnapping? Are you going to do a robbery? Etc, etc. And you've got different lists of locations you can do them, and you've got hard difficulty, you've got normal difficulty, or breeze, or an easy difficulty. And each challenge gives them different rewards, different amount of heat on them, and things like that. And that would run for maybe 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. And you then come in again with another group doing the same thing and just having a different group name, and they can tackle the challenges there, and that's the idea. So that was the whole Blades of Waterdeep initially. And then I was reading through Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and it's like, wow, I can actually run this. This is not too scary, and I like how it runs. I like single location. I like everything that's there. And so I just mentioned to the cast of the Barbarians group, and it's like they were really enthusiastic. They wanted to do it. We needed a couple more cast members, so we got in Potatoes, who's a friend of one of our cast members, and Ursame, who is also came in for that game and also for the Druids game at the same time. Because we were desperate. We were actually actively looking for female role players, because we had a group of 3 male characters, and we wanted 5 in total characters or cast members, and I didn't want just an entire male cast. It's very different to have one sex cast than to have a good mix of cast, and that's what I was actively seeking. I know some people might be quite sexist and whatnot, but it's really worked. It somehow just worked for Prince of the Apocalypse, for the Rusty Daggers. That's just how the cast layout was, and how those characters and how those players react is so much different from just having a single race, or some single sex class, or single sex campaign. So I was actually looking for that. Anyway, so I'm loving the Blades of Waterdeep. I've renamed the Dragon Heist to Blades of Waterdeep because it's a great name, and it's going the actual Blades of Waterdeep Chronicles one is going to be later, so I'll use the name because I couldn't think of a great name to start the campaign. And because I was actually going to run something a bit darker than normal for Waterdeep, I wanted a more colourful tokens. So instead of going to Joy Monaghan, who, again, amazing artist, I went to one of our cast members, Peach, from the Rusty Daggers, who draws these beautiful, hyper friendly and colourful and really cartoonish, happy tokens. And so I had her do the tokens, and they just came out beautiful. They are so happy, they're so great. And when she found out the backgrounds of the two halflings, that they grew up together and they were in the police force together and things like that, and so they had the fist bump on one side of the token and the fist bump on the other side of the token, so you always put them together so they're fist bumping each other because they're awesome, they're partners in crime. So that was really great to have that. Now I can't say much more about the role-playing side of things, but I have to also mention Treant Monk. So Treant Monk was apparently been around for years. He's a role player that makes me look like a young role player. I've been going for about 20 years, he's been going for about 30. So I really like his style, I like his creativity, I like his way of thinking, because he's got a similar way of thinking background than I do when it comes to role playing. And a similar experience with it as well. So he's been around for years doing guides and how-tos for different ideas for different systems, and he's been writing, and he's got quite a bit of following for that. So when I had a cast member say, just a friend that was in the Discord saying, the Treant Monk, I was like, wait, huh? So I actually went and searched and went, oh, okay, so he has got this following. And that was quite a bit of a laugh to him as well, to Treant Monk, so to Chris. And so it was great to have him in the games. He actually did, he was one of the leading forces to how the barbarians acted and thought, and helped get through that challenge. So he then started doing his own thing on YouTube called Treant Monk's Temple. Now it started off with the best, worst and OP and whatnot spells, and it's got into now builds and things like that. And one of the builds he's talked about is the Lucky Priest. And that just so happens to be the same priest he's playing in Waterdeep campaign. So he's linked to the Waterdeep campaign, and he said, hey, I'm also doing this, here's a link. And from that, I think it was late November, early December, my YouTube channel went boom, straight through the roof. I'm like, what the hell's happening? Why is this getting so many hits? Why, after an upload, only days, this got thousands of hits? Well, not thousands, but so much. It was like, where's this come from? And yeah, we found out that that's from that. So I'm really surprised, because when he did his launch, he got 1,000 followers in a month. I'm like, wow, on YouTube. That's just wow. But he's already been doing this for years and years and years on other media, and so he does have a bit of a following. And so that was really nice to do that. And what I loved about, at the end of the year, we had 2 cliffhangers on both our main campaigns. Like the main 0 to 15 level campaign, the Rusty Daggers, they had gone into by the way, the Rusty Daggers was just a slip of one of the cast members, and I just took it and kept on running with it. So I've now changed the campaign to that. That's what. But the Rusty Daggers they snuck their way into a farmstead which was surrounded by what they believed to be 100 orcs. And in the Blades of Waterdeep, they were tasked to break up a gang fight which had 24 gang members, like a dozen on each side. So they were both in this bit, and I loved ending this year with those 2 cliffhangers. So I won't go into what happened afterwards, because that's the new year, and I'm doing this not on, it's the 11th. We're a little bit late of the, hey, year in review. So we'll go to the sim racing side of things. So the sim racing, actually no, before the sim racing, let's plays. I know throughout the year I've done a couple of them here and there. Battletech was fun. I actually got quite a good reception for the for the Shadowrun, and I did enjoy Shadowrun and re-looking at the Shadowrun Return series and the HBS Studios, because I do want to actually go back and do a Shadowrun series. So when I do a bit more Shadowrun stuff, if I do bring it back onto the channel as in role playing, I will go back and play that series and tie that series, that Let's Plays, to a Shadowrun game. Because I do like the Shadowrun system. I think it's amazing. I like the games too. And HBS, I'm a big fan of their products, especially the Battletech game. I've been following that one for years. Wow. So, sim racing. Now, I don't know the exact date that I started, but I was watching. I do a lot of research and a lot of watching on YouTube of how other people do stuff. And one of the things that came up was Samantha Malone, Matt Malone's partner, now wife, starting her iRacing career. So watching her on her first race and going, okay, she can do this, and then like as weeks goes by, she'd have another race here, another race there, and it was just great watching someone go from absolute scratch to semi-competitive and enjoying herself. She wasn't super competitive with everybody else, but she was really enjoying the game. She was enjoying herself, and a lot of the time when you're watching someone game on the internet or watching a YouTube clip or watching a streamer, you're watching someone that already knows what they're doing at a high level, and you're not getting that level of, oh, I'm a noob, this is how we do this is how we do that, oh, I'm making mistakes, things like that. The making mistakes is something I enjoy watching rather than an elite player or elite whatever in any game system. So I was really enjoying that. And I thought, well, I've got an old steering wheel. I've got an old Logitech G25, and at the time there was a 40% off membership. So I went, okay, paid up membership and put the steering wheel in and went, oh, this is fun, but I think my steering wheel's a bit old because it had been sitting in storage for years, absolute years, because my little goblin would love to drive cars. It's one of his focuses, so I can't have those things around. Even now when I don't have him, I can have it open, but when he's around, I have to hide everything. It's scary. So the next day, I went out and bought brand new hardware. I didn't go, I could have gone to the low end. I could have gone for a Logitech G27 or G29 or something. I went kind of mid-tier, went to the Taskmaster T300 series, things like that. Really enjoyed it, and there was a big difference in the quality of racing with that than with the old G25 Logitech, and I went, okay, done, fantastic. So I got into it, and I loved it. And then I hit a week 13. So if you're not familiar with iRacing, they have 12-week seasons, and the week 13 is when they do all the testing. They bring out a new patch, new updates, and they do testing, and people are just crazy, absolutely crazy. And I absolutely hated it. Really I just couldn't do it. So I was starting races in the pits, so I didn't have to face people. I was just racing by myself, because I didn't want all their crap. Didn't want to be in accidents, because the game is about it, not being in accidents. So then the new season hit, and I found the Production Car Challenge, which is the 2016 Mazda Cup cars, the older Mazda Cup cars of 2015, and the Pontiac Solstice. And people say the Pontiac Solstice, they call it the Slowstress. These are all free cars, and these are about the slowest cars in the game. But they were really fun. And so I focused on the 215 Cup car, the older Mazda, and the Solstice, and just ran them into the ground. I was learning a new track every week, but I was only learning one track for two cars, so I was doing lots of races in and two different cars, which was great, but I was only having to learn one new track, because learning a whole track, learning the lines, the braking zones, everything is just a lot of work. A lot of work. But I was having a lot of fun doing it. I ended up coming, in the 12-week season, I came 4th in my division, which is Division 6, and for both the cars. And I missed a couple of weeks. I think I missed a few weeks in that. So if I didn't miss a few weeks, I could have actually gotten higher. But I was actually competitive, and I was really enjoying the competition. So this time around, I'm not competitive, but I'm trying to move into a different area. So I'm trying to move into cars which will teach me better technique than what I was doing in those in those earlier ones. So I'm trying to move into the Formula 2000, most commonly known as the Skip Barber in iRacing, and the Spec Racer Ford. So the Formula 2000 is smoother. You can't slam on your brakes because you'll slide. You can't throw it into a corner because you'll slide. And you have to be very smooth in everything you do. And it's about the same pace. I think it's a little bit faster, but it's about the same pace as the others that I've been driving. A little bit faster. And the other one that I'm doing, now going, oh my god, this is so much fun, is the Spec Racer Ford, which is even more twitchy. Again, about the same pace, a little bit slower, but if you do anything bad, it will throw you, it will spin, you can't even touch curbs. So this to me is like even better. So if I can learn those two cars, I can then move up in speed because I've then got the control to do braking really lightly, acceleration lightly, and get everything right that way. And again, still learning tracks. And also hopefully trying to minimize the amount of tracks I'm buying as well. So late in the year, we got into a new system. So the 2019 iRacing actually comes out mid-December. And so for the 2019 season, we've got a whole new overlay set for the sim racing. We're using metallic borders and things like that for the iRacing, and I'm really loving the new look. So I wanted to separate the iRacing from the wooden panels of our role playing, just to show this is totally separate from the other. And we also found something really fun, which is the live timing display. The live timing display is something which is broadcast software for like the commentator world championship style broadcasts, and my god, it is powerful. It is so much, there's so much there. And so bought that, and it's like the development cycle, every week or every 2 weeks there's more stuff coming out for this, new ideas, new bits and pieces, new add-ons. So much development going on, and it took me over probably 50 hours to get my head around everything. Started moving everything to where it can do it, and to starting to go, okay, now I know how to do things. I can do this, I can do that, and I can do it a bit more quicker. There's still so much more I can do. There's so many parts of the program I could still use. The initial idea was to actually allow chat to be able to control the cameras on the car. Now, it is possible. You can use like stream bots and Twitch bots and things like that to enter commands. Those commands can trigger some other things like sounds and whatnot. I know another guy in my Discord, another role player streamer, they can do Syrinscape as a Twitch add-on. So the chat can actually do things like the and things like that. So I thought, okay, we can then probably do this for that. And so I started working with it, and I found out, yeah, I can't really do that, which is really annoying. There is a way, and I've worked it out. I have to have a streaming computer, as in a second computer, which is not too foreign. That computer will also have to be logged on to iRacing, which means a second account for iRacing, which is an ongoing membership. Then you have to have that person spectate every race you do, and you have the live timing hooked up to that account, and so the chat can then change that live timing camera. So that's at the expense of another computer and another account in iRacing. Not gonna happen. At least not yet. Just not gonna happen. So that's one of the things that happened late in the year for the sim racing. Another thing that happened late in the year for sim racing is we've spent most of the year with a massive monitor in front of us for the role playing especially. We've had a tiny little monitor for chat and things like that, and we've got our two side panels as well for the screen capture and for the broadcasting as well. So most of the time in role playing you see me like this because I'm looking at the video feed coming directly from the players, and so that's why I'm mostly turned that way instead of looking at camera. So we've changed from having that massive screen in front to the same size screen as the two outer monitors, which allows me for triple monitor. So triple monitor in iRacing, I can look out to here instead of just looking to here. I can see further, I can see where the cars are that are overtaking me, I can see my apexes, I can see around corners, and so if there's a yellow flag, or if I can see someone that's gone off or something like that, I can see that on this monitor, as I'm turning to go, oh crap, I need to slow down before I go around this corner, and there they are right in front of me. So it allows me to do a bit better and a bit slower, like a bit more safer driving. It did give me quite a bit of a hit for my FPS though. So that's that's a future project. This has also allowed me something else. So I've been running these little USB monitors and I've been failing with them all year. Like they are great, they are really great. From AOC, these 15-inch USB 3 monitors. I've loved them, but I've had issues with them. But the reason why I've had issues with them is because I'm trying to use 2 instead of 1. I can use 1, not 2. Now, what I've done is then I've set up bigger monitors. I've got bigger monitors up the top here now, so I can see things a bit more clearly, and this has allowed me to actually function a bit better. One of the monitors is now, for future upgrades, I've also put one of the monitors on working off a CPU, so it's actually been changed into a USB monitor. So it's running off CPU, but I don't run anything on there except for text, so it's pretty much using chat only. I don't have any moving bits and pieces because it really struggles on moving pictures. But it's great for text and it's great for chat or something like that. It really, really works well for that. So I had an iRacer come to me and go, how come you've got 5 monitors? How can you get 5? And it's like, well, I was running 2 GPUs, as in 2 graphics cards, and then we helped him track down another way of doing it with this changer, which is what I'm using now. The change into a USB 3. But anyway, so that's something that's been a big change as well for the iRacing. And so I think it's a positive thing. I think next is going to be lighting. So Elgato just came out with a lighting thing, which I'm enthusiastic with because that's one of the biggest things I've always struggled with is lighting. As you can see now, I'm a bit, but we'll see how that goes. So hopefully we're going to get faster with the iRacing. I know we're super clean, and that's going really, really well. And I'm really enjoying the new overlay sets and everything. And as that moves in, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of iRacers that come in. They go, oh my god, what is that? And they're really, really impressed with the overlay sets that we use. Like, really impressed. And other broadcasters, other iRace streamers are going, what is that? I've got a promo code to give them a 10% discount, which is great. Which also gives me a 15% discount. So what are the highlights of the year? Well, the highlights of the year was essentially working with so many creative people. So many amazing artists, both audio artists for the music and things like that. Some of my cast members are actually audio artists. We've got visual artists as well, which we've been working with, which is just like, wow. They're so creative, so great. Finishing up a role-playing session, coming back the next day and having a hand-drawn sketch of what happened in that role-playing session is just really fun and amazing to see, and the stuff that I've seen is just wow. And of course, having so many role players, and like everyone comes at this from a different perspective, different history, different background, and some people do the whole voice thing, some people really get into it, other people are a bit distant, but having so many different ideas, so many different people come in and just jump in, are willing to go live online, which in itself is wow. You don't usually get that, but having them come in is going wow. Meeting other new streamers is another big highlight for the year. The local streaming scene, it may not be huge in Australia, but meeting other Sydney streamers is great. I was tempted of even going down to some of the other meets like in Melbourne or up in Brisbane. I would still probably do that maybe this coming year as I get a little bit bigger and a little bit more confident. And seeing my goblin. So my goblin, as I mentioned earlier, he's now 7. He was 6 during this throughout the year. His birthday's quite late in the year. Seeing my goblin Sid, who is non-verbal, and autistic, seeing himself and my partner on screen. So we set up a video call because my partner's long distance, and we set up a video call, and he could see himself on screen. And as soon as he saw himself, he was like, and he was just looking and like really transfixed, and had the microphone in front of him, and saw my partner there, and he had my headset on, and he was just talking non-stop for well over 10 minutes. So it was just amazing for him to see that. And then when I took the feedback back into the headset, so he could hear himself in the feedback, it was just like so much more, like he just went, oh, he loved it. And he was saying things like, he was saying things like, and don't forget to click here to subscribe. See you next time, and hello YouTube. And he was just constant talking and talking and talking. And for a non-verbal child, it was just absolutely amazing. Now, I don't let him see that much YouTube, so I'm guessing that's his mother that he gets all this from. But wow, he sees a lot of YouTube for all the stuff that he was coming up with. So some of the lowlights of the year. I know this is going on long, but yeah, I'm just rambling. So having to step back. So something like the massive lowlight of the year, like having to step back when the channel had so much momentum. My partner getting as sick as she was, and cancer's a big thing. I mean, we've got better news by now. It is better, the news at least, but it's a massive thing, and it's an ongoing concern, and it's an ongoing stress and anxiety. So stepping back from the channel when it was growing is a big low light. Bigger than that was, of course, the reason for that. The technical issues, which still continue, the connection issues that plague us, it's gotten better. I will say it's gotten much better, but still, we're having issues, and we're having issues again at the moment, which is why I'm recording instead of going live. On top of that, there's the having to stop a live role-playing show to pull up a player live on the internet. So this is something that I've never had to do before. I've been role-playing for 20 years, and I've done a lot of different systems, a lot of different bits and pieces. I've never had to stop as a GM and just pull up a player and going, what are you doing? Why did you just do that? Do you really, really, really want to do that? And then have them say yes. And I'm going, oh my god. So we had to retcon. And that was live. That was broadcast live, and that should never have had to be broadcast live. That should never have happened. And spoke to the person afterwards, and he was like, "Yeah, I just got I got carried away. I'm sorry." But even still, it was just, I won't say who or anything like that. I was just like, wow, it happened. It happened live, and it should not have happened live, and it should not have happened online and things like that. Never should have happened. Other low points, receiving 8 copyright strikes, or probably even more. It could have been for my first few Wreckfest videos. So doing Let's Plays, this is one of the reasons why we actually stopped doing Let's Plays. So I got a massive number of copyright strikes over, I think, 3 videos, but those 3 videos are over 2 days, and I pretty much uploaded them all at the same time. And this is because of 2 things. One, apparently Thack Nordic didn't set up all the YouTube permissions to say, look, or the exceptions to say, look, in this game we have this music, blah 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 blah. On top of that, we had a troll. Like one of the people that were claiming, I appealed them all, and everyone except for one said, oh yep, sorry, after Thack Nordic got involved and corrected it. One of them said no, one's kept on going and kept on ignoring and kept on just rejecting every one of my claims. So I reached out with Thack Nordic. They were amazing. They gave me the actual contracts they had with the musicians involved, so I could say, hey, this is why it's not a copyright claim. This is fair use, blah 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 blah. Your musician has a contract for this game. I'm using this game. There's no outside music coming in. But the one troll just kept on rejecting. I contacted the artist, who also went, oh, sorry, um, I'll try to get this fixed. And still they kept on rejecting. So there's a process where you can go through this again and again and again. And the process ended with them still rejecting every single claim. There's no legal anything in there. All they have to do is say, no, I reject your claim for fair use. And they just kept on saying, no, I reject your claim for fair use. So in the end, I had to send an email with copied correspondence from the artist, copied correspondence from the games developer, and the contracts between the artist and the games developer to the claimant, and not just to the claimant, but to the claimant's legal department with the letter, fix this or we go to court, essentially. That's really a simplistic version. And it got fixed. Oh, wow! Because the court wouldn't have been in Australia, it wouldn't have been in the UK where they're based, it would have been in UK, it would have been in the US, so it would have cost them. It would have cost me too, and I wouldn't have gotten anything back. But it's important. So yeah, having to threaten legal action was certainly a very, very bad thing. The worst thing that happened this year, the biggest lowlight was the strain throughout the year for my partner and I, with the whole cancer scare and with the support and everything else, resulting in our separation. So we separated essentially on New Year's Eve, a day after my birthday. Yeah, it was bad. It still is. We still care for each other, but there's a lot of issues there. It pretty much started from the whole cancer scare. So what's coming up next? I just want to push past that. So yeah, in 2019, we're going to try relaunching the Weeby Goblins on a weekly basis. If it's not Weeby Goblins, we'll be running hopefully a Shadowrun one-shot, or Call of Cthulhu, or Infected, or other game systems. The idea being is we want to be able to bring in new cast members and teach them new game systems. So we want to be able to teach people Pathfinder. Pathfinder is a big game system. Yes, they're doing their open playtest for Part 2, for Pathfinder 2, but they still is the next biggest share, I think, of the market. Shadowrun, amazing game system. I absolutely love this. The history, the background, everything. Just so love it. It's complex. I won't go over that. It is complex. Oh yeah, but it is great. And Call of Cthulhu again, just so spot on. My first game I think was Call of Cthulhu, like over 20 years ago, well over 20 years ago, before my friends and I had any idea what was going on. And yeah, so I wanted to try to teach other people these other systems, because a lot of people will only play D&D, and D&D is very, very small in its scope, where yes, you can homebrew, but there's other games out there which do what they're homebrewing so much better. Even Call of Cthulhu has basic role-playing system behind it, which is essentially a open system of Call of Cthulhu that's designed for fantasy, it's designed for future, for modern, everything. It's really, really good. And you can just say, okay, I want to do this as a western, a spaghetti western. Yep, there's books for that side of basic role-playing. Or, okay, I want to do this as a sci-fi. Yep, you can do that as well. It's just jump in, done. So I want to teach these systems, with the aim of then later, hopefully, launching the Chronicles series. And again, 4 to 6 week system, 4 to 6 week games on different systems. So for 1 month we may be doing Call of Cthulhu. For another month we may jump in and do like Blades of Waterdeep, the Chronicles version, which was the initial version I was doing for the actual gangs of Waterdeep, it may end up being called, or a Shadowrun, which is essentially just like doing a Shadowrun mission or two really quick and then jumping off and then having them cycle through. So I'd come back with another Shadowrun game with another cast member of Shadowrunners doing their stuff in the same location, same world, having another Call of Cthulhu come through, having another infected zombie apocalypse come through, and just keep on cycling them through, because I think they'd be really fun to do, because they're just building the world series by series slowly, and I think that would be really fun. So that's what I really would like to do and get up and running at least by the end of next year. It's a big project, because it's a big ongoing project. There's also a possibility, if we have enough growth, enough viewers, is actually to do the PvP D&D or D&D PvP. So I've got that all set up and ready to run. It's reliant on the amount of viewers that we get. So maybe, who knows? For Let's Plays, I don't know. We'll definitely be doing the autism awareness, that's for sure. After that, we'll probably be doing a few things throughout the year. I do want to go back and do the Shadowrun stuff or some other role-playing games, because they're just fun, and they're really, really good fun for me. So for the sim racing, I would like to actually set up a hosted series. So that's one of the projects, is actually doing hosted racing, maybe once a week or once like every 2 weeks or something like that, where we bring in the spec racers, the Legends Ford, and the spec racer Fords, the Legends 32, and maybe the Formula 2000 Skip Barbers. So they're the pseudo racing cars, but they're the slowest of the pseudo racing cars, and put them all on track at once, and have like all the free tracks, because they're all free cars, have them all on track at once and race them together in a series, and have that as an ongoing thing, maybe each week or every fortnight, something like that. I would also love to actually have either a big tournament or a monthly racing series or racing thing with Wreckfest, and get a lot of streamers together, and sim race streamers at that, because in sim racing, especially iRacing, you do want to race clean, and in Wreckfest you don't want to race clean. So that's kind of how things work. So I think it's really fun. I think it'd be a blast to have some dirty racing and grudge matches against other streamers, so they can go, okay, you knocked me off in this on Daytona, blah blah blah. This is my payback. I'm gonna smash into you, and things like that. I think it'd be great fun. I think it'd be a real blast to actually do and organise and things like that. So that's some of the things looking forward to this year. You might also notice that you probably won't notice, but the hardware that we started with, when we started this, we had probably about half the processing power that we do now. We've just amped and amped and amped and amped. We had 3 screens, and we've gone from pretty much nothing to a really good studio setup. As I said, the only thing we need possibly would be a lighting, and we're looking at, I mean, I would really like to, I don't know if it's possible or how early it'll happen, but I would actually like to get a bigger graphics card. I mean, of course we're talking the NVIDIA GTX 280 Ti, and just dump that in, and then I should run everything, and I'd absolutely love it. But these are future projects. I would love to do that by the end of the year as hardware, but hardware wise we're pretty much set. We're pretty good. I'm quite happy with the setup, how it works and how it looks. So yeah, that's myself. That's everything that's happened this year. It's a lot longer video than I expected, but yeah, thanks for sticking around, thanks for having a look, and my name is Carl Govan. If you enjoy role-playing or sim racing or whatnot, that's what's been going on. I know the sim racing came on later, but we've also got some new hardware for that too. A little bit of a hint there, but it's not huge. The main big thing is the overlays that are really, really great. So yeah, that's it for me. I'm going to head off. I'm going to end the video. So as always, if you like the video, you can always click here and subscribe. And so if you like the video on YouTube, you can click it, so you can click the like. Even if you didn't like the video, you can also click the like. You can click here to subscribe and ring the bell. That way you're notified when we upload more videos. You can head on over to Twitch TV/Goblin Cave for our live channel. On there you can follow us, which will give you heads up when we actually are live, and you can also subscribe to the channel and donate to the channel. If you donate to the channel, all the money, well, almost all the money goes to myself, goes to the channel itself. If you subscribe, Twitch take quite a bit of a chunk out of that. You can also find our Discord there, which is now open to the public, which wasn't at the start of the year. It's open to the public, so that's one of the things that's happened during the year. And I would love to have a community to build around the channel, build out either role playing or the sim racing side of things, or just anything really. And you can also follow us on Twitter with goblin_cave. So that's me for now. I'm going to head off. My name is Karsha Goblin. Have a great year ahead, and hopefully you've had a great year behind you. So, bye!